family fortune? I didn't realize he was part of the Swanson family fortune.
Yeah, TV dinners. Yeah, I
He
remember
tries
hearing
to
that.
make himself out to be again like another blue collar man of the people.
Are
Pull
you
yourself by
kidding?
your own
Oh,
bootstraps.
fucking A. That guy had a bigger silver spoon upbringing than anybody you can think of,
Yeah,
So
I'm writing it right now. It may pop up on your feed in just a moment. Yeah, I just pulled myself up by my own bootstraps. I didn't. No skids were grease for me.
hang on, I'm watching the Coinbase thing, and it just hit $400. Yes, I am so rich. Oh God.
But it was at 1600, so I don't know how.
No, it wasn't 16. No,
Was it 7,000?
no. This is you're not talking about what you don't know what you're saying. So
No, I was actually kidding because again, it's all fantasy anyway. Aren't you, when you bet on
405.
cryptocurrency, aren't you essentially just betting on the collapse of all governments eventually? That the governments are going to just collapse at some point?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think you might have been able to just say that, but now that all the legitimate people are in on it, it is a thing, but it's not my thing right now. But it could be.
Are the Winklevis still in there?
Oh, let's put it this way: I don't think they feel quite so bad anymore about what they didn't make in the world of Facebook. They've more than made it up. So the answer is,
the list of grievances may have gotten a little smaller, which is good.
I think they walked away with like 60 million from Facebook. Okay, which is that was crushing. But they've turned that into several billion, I think.
Speaking of getting crushed, and this is something you'll never watch, but the WeWork documentary on Hulu. Holy shit!
I would never watch that. I'd never watch that, Britt, because I have no interest in anything financial like you do. So thanks for schooling me. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it. But what was this? You would never watch this
because you're always. Anytime I tell you to stream, anytime I tell you to stream anything, you're like, oh, I have 50,000 stacks of shit I have to get through, and you're still suffering from PTSD from fucking.
That's different. That's a different issue than I would never watch it. The intonation of that was a little girl like me just couldn't get that.
You wouldn't
wrapped around that.
Yeah, you wouldn't understand.
I wouldn't get it.
It's well beyond your capacity to understand.
By the way, I don't even know what it is. So you are right, but because you and I've just done a documentary for 6 years. It's called "We Don't Work."
That's right. That's what we've been doing.
And by the way, we're not on yet, are we?
Oh no, we're not on. No, this is just pregame.
Okay, let me just say that by accident, and you know how this happens. You're on your phone and you get bombarded by something that you really didn't want to bombard you with. I got bombarded with the live feed this morning of Pat McCrory and Bo Thompson. Okay.
Oh, why?
And now to be fair, I did take my phone and put it in the garbage disposal. I don't have a phone anymore.
That makes sense. Okay. Well, I understand that. Once you explain that to Sprint or whoever, you're going to be, they'll be like, oh, we get it. We'll send you another one out immediately.
I took out the insurance yesterday, so it's all right.
Oh, good.
It's okay.
All right. I'm ready when you are.
Triple shooting in High Point under investigation. West Wendover and East Chester Drive.
That's you've probably been through there, but that's essentially that's where we used to have the give a kid a coat kickoff for Murphy in the Morning. It was pretty close to there at the Cleaner World. Oh, that pizza place that we went to that one time. It's near there.
Lebrano's. I know. It's where you. Yes, it's where you make that left turn to go into High Point. I know.
That's correct. That's exactly right. Not far. It's not far down from where Tex and Shirley's is, right there.
Now, is that the new Tex and Shirley's, or that's the newer one, but not the one that closed and then reopened,
newer,
right?
It's the newer, older one. It's not the new one, but it's the newer, older one.
At this moment, I am just nowhere. Hold on.
In the weeds.
Did you see the Madison Cawthorn legislation story?
No, I haven't seen this.
I've
been paying attention, but I didn't see this.
In the next 30 seconds, go ahead and just Google his stupid name, and I guarantee you it'll be the first. It's so stupid. You just won't believe how stupid it is. Okay? It's that stupid.
You just don't get the genius. Oh, yeah, I saw it. I see it now. And it is. It's you didn't undersell it, sir.
Is that excellent or what? Is that good?
That's good.
Well, I'm really stuck here. I'm getting fucked on everything right now. It's not. Everything's freezing. It's not. I'm getting boxes that say "bite me." I'm getting all kinds of stuff today.
The 400-pound guys in Jersey are having a field day right now.
Let's try it one more time, and if not, we'll just go and
we'll say that we tried. We gave it a shot.
No, it's not that. I just can't put it on I can't connect on the Facebook thing. I can already tell that it's going to do the same thing this time.
Yeah.
When you get 15 seconds of before you even get, I don't know what this means. Can you share it to my page?
Yeah.
I can't do it right. I can't do it myself here. I can't do it. Everything is just nothing.
Oh, I just sent it to you in your message.
Oh, that's not helpful.
No, it's not going to work for you.
I don't think it will.
Hang on. Okay, try that.
Let's take a look. Doesn't look like it's there.
Okay.
Well, tell you what, we won't delay the frivolities any longer. It just doesn't matter.
Without any further ado.
But we'll take one last stab at it. We got it.
Woo! Woo!
We got it. Okay. Let's do it here. The Brad and Britt cast is rolling here. Our third one this week. Thank you for joining us live here in the 1:30 Eastern hour. And I guess we probably need to begin with a moment of silence for Bernie Madoff. Okay, that's it for that. That was a quick moment. It was a quick moment. I didn't realize, I forgot the number. The 37,000 people, 37,000 people, when they did all the counting, got nailed, got ripped off by Bernie Madoff, who died on Wednesday at the Donald Trump Butner Correctional Institute here in North Carolina. They've already renamed it, and they are now saving that bed and that cell for Trump, because it now will always house the biggest fraud in the country at any given moment. And so Trump was actually, numerically speaking, from a money standpoint, way behind Madoff. But now that Madoff has been bumped off, they smashed his head against a toilet. A lot of people don't know that.
I didn't know that.
You're here. By the way, you're hearing, natural causes, blah, 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 blah. I'm a Bernie Madoff truther. Okay. I'm the first one to say that this guy was just like Jeffrey Dahmer. They Jeffrey Dahmered him. They bashed his head.
Did JFK Jr. break into Butner and then smash his head against the toilet? Is this part of QAnon? Is that how this all fits in?
No, it's just one of his so-called friends.
Was it so? Hillary Clinton killed Bernie Madoff? Is that what you're saying? Because that's what it feels like you're saying. That's what I'm hearing.
She wasn't no, she was not a friend of his.
Sure.
Yeah.
You go on believing that. No, that's the beauty of the QAnon is you can weave everything into it. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just a thing that you can kind of. It's this bullshit sandwich that always keeps adding layers and layers and layers. Is that going to be by the way, is that going to be a thing when various asshole Republicans in various places across America start trying to name streets and schools after Donald Trump in 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, 20 years? Do you think that's going to be again another way for them to own the libs by getting people upset so they'll do such things?
I don't even think that's discussable. I don't even think that's a question.
It's going to happen.
I can't even believe that you think that it's possible that it would not be. Did you see some of the people that Madoff ripped? You got Elie Wiesel, the Holocaust survivor guy, Steven Spielberg, Mr. and Mrs. Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon, of course, famous for making a phone commercial right now, I think.
Kira Sedgwick. Kira Sedgwick is Kevin Bacon's wife.
Right. Senator Frank Lautenberg, all kinds of famous people. I think the guy who owned the Mets, Wilpon.
They used to,
nailed for a lot of money.
Yeah, they had to eventually end up liquidating and selling the Mets, right? Because of all of the problems they'd gone through with all that shit.
Yeah.
So but I would be in favor of the local high school being named after Donald Trump if their nickname was the Golden Shower. I would say yes, you can do that. It's the Donald Trump.
Golden. Wait, does it have to be singular?
Yeah,
like the Cardinal.
Yeah, the Crimson Tide.
Stanford Cardinal.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's got to be singular. It's got to be tonight. West Brunswick takes on the Golden Shower of Trump High School, and I'd be in favor of that happening. You were just pointing me to this great article that I was reading about Madison Cawthorn, the wonderful representative from Western North Carolina, whose latest legislation would make Donald Trump's border wall a national monument. And he's not just doing this to garner prison. He really wants this to happen, Brad, because there's a real chance it's going to happen. He's not trying to build up his bona fides. He's really wanting to do this from a sincere place in his heart.
See, but what you point out there is the playbook that people like him and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, whatever the hell her name is from college, that they will never ever do anything substantial while in Congress. Their whole reason for being is to generate publicity for themselves, very often by proposing pie in the sky, annoying, own the libs, pointless bullshit like this that get folks like us talking about it. So by us talking about it, she wins. No, but it's all that matters, and it gets you more interviews on the right-wing cable networks and articles about, and that's all they care about. And then that turns into fundraising, and then you send out a letter, for instance, about this issue. You're Madison Cawthorn. You send it out and you say, people are trying to attack Donald Trump. When will they leave him alone? I had this idea to name the wall after him or something, and they won't let it go. Or, they'll just turn it around for absolutely no reason, with no basis, with no facts. But it doesn't matter. Okay, where do I send the $25? Where do I?
That's
send
right.
That's all that they do.
That's Madison Cawthorn's playbook over and over and over and over again. That's what these guys do.
I as a big baseball fan, and I know that you are, you must be aware of what the Republicans are now trying to do to Major League Baseball. Okay.
Yeah, it's part. They're trying to. Yeah. Go ahead.
This is a kind of last ditch attempt to give a big FU to corporations that speak. And for the purposes of the discussion, Major League Baseball is kind of a corporation. It's a private business, although the argument when they want money to build stadiums is, if it's such a private business, why do they need taxpayer money? But let's put that aside for a second. Okay, we know that there's a lot of hypocrisy here. That's not the issue. The point is that Major League Baseball and the major league teams are kind of private enterprises, right? They can buy and sell them to each other and things of that sort. So in a way, they are like Pepsi or like Home Depot or Walmart or anybody else. And so we have the usual lineup of Republicans. Who is this? Ted Cruz,
Josh Hawley.
Who's the third one?
Those are the main hit. Right. Those are the main hit guys that are
Mike Lee. Mike Lee,
another asshole. Sure.
Right. Who, by the way, remember, he has no right to be in on this because Utah doesn't have a major league team. Ha 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 ha.
Roasted.
That's boom. And by the way, that's not a real argument that I'm making, but it's the kind of argument that they would make if they could, in the opposite direction, if they could. And of course, it's not really relevant, but I just made it to prove the point here. So, baseball's had this antitrust exemption, I think, for about 100 years.
Right.
And these are the same people, the same Republicans who are all behind the Supreme Court decisions that have said that money is speech. Corporations are people.
Correct.
People have the right to speak. Corporations have the right to support candidates, but they don't have the right. They do not have the right to speak about voting rights. They do not have the right to speak about legislation that's passed in states regarding voting rights. So we're going to punish them. So the hypocrisy here is so towering. It's so beyond belief that, of course, we believe it because these are the people that do that, right?
Did you see? I saw some of the press conference yesterday with Hawley and Cruz, and the crocodile tears that were being cried by Senator Hawley over the large corporations that have built themselves into huge trusts. He was absolutely, it's just not fair. And when it happened during Teddy Roosevelt went in there and he busted up those trusts because, as you know, the Republican Party has always been against really huge, massive corporations gaining too much power. If there's anything that the Republican Party has ever stood for in that, and he was talking about, it's the same thing with big tech. We got to bust them up. And when it comes to Major League Baseball, we got to bust them up. That's what we have to do. They've just become too big for their britches. And we're going to come in there with our big stick, wielding it like Teddy Roosevelt, and we're going to show those sons of bitches who's boss.
Here's how sophisticated they are. And they didn't say this, but I wouldn't put it past one of them to be so dumb. You know what? We're going to have to split Major League Baseball into 2 different leagues.
That's right. We are. One of them could be like sort of a national league, and the other one, I don't know, call it what you want to, maybe United States League or something. I'm just spitballing. One of those things. It could and they should have a little bit different rules. Like the pitcher should not have to bat in one of those leagues. I'm just these are just things that I'm saying off the top of my head. The stupidity of this is trying to sell it as they're doing nothing but trying to punish these people. As you say, they give corporations free speech. They give them the ability to go out and try to ruin elections as much as possible with all the money that they want to throw into elections. And now all of a sudden, these corporations, which, as you point out, they've made into people, are being taken. They're having their First Amendment rights taken away from them now.
Let me see if I can simplify it even more for myself. I don't know if this helps. Republicans are for free speech for big corporate entities as long as it's in the form of money, which they consider speech, and that money goes to them. That's free speech for corporations. But free speech in terms of expressing actual speech, ideas, not so good.
Right.
You can't even begin to want to parse that and make it make any sense, because it doesn't. It's inconsistent. It's beyond belief, and of course, it's typical, and it's all they've got. But that one really jumped out at me today. That one just, and it shouldn't, because it's just part of the same. The same rigmarole, the same drivel, the same dreck. So enough.
This apparently stems from a Supreme Court decision that ruled that baseball was a sport and not a business. So there you go. There it is. And it's been upheld as recently as 2018. So again, when Senators Cruz and Hawley, I always thought that the Supreme Court was the law of the land. I always thought that was, they were the ones that interpreted it. But apparently, Hawley and Cruz have different ideas about this, and Mike Lee as well. So they can continue to go on and tilt at this windmill all they want to. I don't think they're going to get anywhere. But, again, it's all about scoring points for the Fox audience, isn't it?
Anything beyond that, not that important. All right, we got
owning the libs.
Right. So we got two people within the last day or so who have officially rattled the cage and say they want to run for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate to succeed Richard Burr. One of them we know is Pat McCrory, the former governor, the former mayor for life of Charlotte. And he's been doing radio for a few years down there. Now he's going to step back in apparently and run. But that's not all. There's more.
Who else?
You ready? Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down.
Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson.
Oh, boy.
Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, one of the more popular Republican politicians in North Carolina, via WRAL.com, writing this, is seriously considering a jump into the Senate race because people are telling him to get in there. So a guy like Mark Robinson, who is basically just a complete right-wing piece of garbage, who has played the culture war card, who has played the cancel culture, all just you name the cliche of the last year or so in Republican pro-Trump political blather, and he's been out in front. And Republicans love that, and they double love it because he's black. Okay, so right. Wow, it isn't one of them who's on the plantation still. He got off the plantation. Okay, all that shit.
I'm going to show everybody that's watching live. I'm going to show you. This is going to be the screenshot. This is what he's well known for since he's been in office, just for the past few months. A new website to report indoctrination in North Carolina public schools. If your child is being indoctrinated, he wants to know about it because he believes that that's very dangerous to education. And we ain't teaching our kids to read and write anymore. We're teaching them all sorts of stuff like, I don't know, multiculturalism and things of that nature. And that's how he's become so popular, per your article. Exactly, because he plays the hits. That's what that guy does.
Mark Robinson, the current lieutenant governor, Trump's niece, right? No, it's his daughter-in-law. It's not his daughter-in-law. It's his daughter-in-law.
No. Right.
Mary Trump. Mary Trump is his niece. And by the way, don't ever say that name in front of Donald Trump or you get slapped.
I'll make sure I do it.
Right. And then Mark Walker, the former Republican congressman from our area, and an early guest on the Brad and Britt cast. He sat right there in the room with us all those years before he won his first race. So those four, it's an interesting four. It's a dreadful four.
Yeah.
But who knows where the country is going to be? Who knows how much Trumpism will decide a race for the Republican nomination for Senate in North Carolina? Because, we're not in that world. We're not there trying to decide which of these four to vote for instance, on a ballot, if they were all up against each other. And it would be who had sucked up to Donald Trump the most, who played it down the middle, or who declared independence. There's only kind of three choices there, right? So far, there doesn't appear to be any reward for saying you're independent of Donald Trump across the country
forget
when
it.
you run for so you can't be that. Can you pretend that?
I mean, he loves the attention as to which one of them will kiss his ass to get the endorsement. Obviously, it's going to be Laura Trump. She's going to be the one that, if he comes to visit the state or whatever, she ends up actually running. He'll have the appearances, and there'll be 1 million people there. He'll say there won't be 1 million people, but still.
That's the great part of that, though. I'm glad you brought that up, because the great part of that is that forces everybody else at some level to say, hey, fucking A, Trump is not on the ballot. Trump lost. He barely won the race in North Carolina in 2020, and it's a new day, and I'm not Donald Trump. And there's a big section of that party that says, well, I just want a little Trump. I want more Trump. So that's why we want Laura Trump in the race, right? Because that makes sure that there's this split. That's
yeah. I mean, there's that, but the second thing that you said, I mean, you just took it for granted. He did lose, but the big lie is going to be perpetuated forever that he didn't. And all of those people that are running for that spot, they're going to be put on the spot, and they're not going to give you a straight answer. They're not going to say straight up, he lost in 2020. They're going to say he was cheated. They have to.
No, I understand. I wasn't.
You were talking about reality.
Hang on. I was talking about he won North Carolina. Won North Carolina. Right. All right. But he lost the election. Now, if you're running for Senate, like you said, do you dare say, yes, he won North Carolina and he won the entire country too, but they stole it from him? Could you actually run in this state on that?
There's no choice. That you've gone all in on the crazy. You have to continue to perpetuate the big lie, because if you don't, he's going to smack you down. You're going to what you want to do if you're Pat McCrory, or if you're anybody else that's running for this seat, if you're Mark Robinson, whoever it is, you don't want him to smack you down, because he's probably going to endorse his daughter-in-law, because he probably wants to bang her just like his daughter. But at the same time, you don't want him to smack you down. He can't tweet anymore, but if you don't want to put out a statement saying, Mark Robinson sucks, he's terrible, and you should never vote for him, or Pat McCrory was a weak-ass governor, and he was awful, and even I couldn't drag his ass across the finish line in 2016, right? So in order not to have Donald Trump backhand you, you have to be like, well, of course he was screwed out of the election. It was absolutely, it's a lie to say that he lost the Electoral College in 2020 and it was bullshit. And you have to at least namby-pamby it and say, well, Britt, there were some real issues that were brought up.
But this takes this idea of you run one way in a primary and you run more to the middle in a general election. You run more to the right in a Republican primary, you run a little bit more to the left in a Democratic primary maybe, and then you move to the center in the general election. This really tests that theory, because if you're right, and I give you only about a 99% chance of being right, that to win the primary, you have to have enough of those people who are not willing to give up the big lie, and you have to go along with them and say that as Donald Trump won North Carolina, he won the whole country, and he won Georgia, and he won Arizona, and he won Nevada, and he won Wisconsin, and he won Pennsylvania, right? You can do a updated version of Howard Dean, right? You could name all these states and go, he won them all. Okay, and that, I guess, might get you the nomination, because it gives you inoculation from Trump attacking you in the primary. But once you get into the general election, okay, that's not a winning strategy. It just is not, because most of the people, if they even do believe that Trump won in 2020, the whole country, and a number of them are still in North Carolina, and they voted for him here. I'm not sure that translates into enough votes in any kind of positive sense to help you win a general election. I just don't see it. Again, I could be totally wrong.
I think what you're saying is correct. What you will not ever hear on primary night in 2022 is, well, the more moderate candidate won in this Republican primary. That's not going to happen. That's not the more reasonable. I'm sorry, that won't happen. But you're right. You crazy towned yourself into you've shoehorned yourself that when you get to the general election, hopefully you will then be deemed unelectable because your fringe QAnon crazy ass, Birch Society, John Birch Society bullshit. I would hope that's how it's going to work. I'm not really sure. Again, I thought a lot of things were true up until 2016, and then that kind of just blew my mind all over again.
And I wonder if even right now that the other candidates besides Pat McCrory, and in particular the Democratic Party, are already starting to pour through Pat McCrory's radio career the last 4 years in Charlotte, hours and hours of audio and hours and hours of TV appearances where he was in full Trump suck-up mode. I just recall, even here on the Brad and Brittcast, on a couple of Mondays saying, did you see Pat McCrory yesterday? What the hell are they having him on Meet the Press for? And I don't remember why I said that, but I can guarantee you it's because he said something that was so Trump sycophantic and so idiotic. And he did it to, quote unquote, own the libs on the panel or whoever he was appearing with. He just did it to be that alternative voice, which is why they have him on. Okay, because he looks nice in a suit, and he can put 3 sentences together. So
he's got whoever's doing his PR, whatever firm that is that he's got, they're great because they keep getting him booked. And I don't know if it's lazy bookers on these shows or whatever, but he keeps getting booked for no reason. As you point out, there's really no reason to have the guy on. In North Carolina, I mean, I did the study on it one time. When you get reelected as a governor in North Carolina, generally speaking, you get 60+% of the vote. This guy couldn't make it in a year where Trump won the state in 2016. He couldn't get reelected. The people, there were a lot of Republicans that even looked at Pat McCrory and went, "You suck." Even some of the social Republicans who may have liked the fact that he was in there standing up for their daughters being raped by transgender humans. I don't know what that was all about, but it was 5 years ago and you can look it up. Even those people were kind of like, well, he did sign into law, like, for the first time ever, I'm paying taxes on movie tickets and haircuts. Even some people figured out that they didn't like that. So he was a failure as North Carolina's governor. Period, zip, end of story, full stop. I mean, there's nothing else to say. To recast the 2012 to 2016 period in North Carolina as this heavenly great time, and oh my God, it's gone downhill since then. I think even the average North Carolinian is going to be like, there are a lot of people out there that don't like Roy Cooper, the current governor of North Carolina. I'll give you that. There are a lot of people, but he won re-election pretty easily. Fairly easily, again, in a state that Trump carried in 2020. So, take of that what you will. I just hope Pat McCrory's chances are slim and none, and Slim's out getting a beer, because it doesn't need to happen. I would love Laura Trump to get the nomination. Now, I say this because I think she would be easy pickings in the general election, but then all of a sudden you have Cal Cunningham Jr. come up maybe and have some problems with his fly, and then she's our next U.S. senator, right?
Well, but you can't anticipate that. I mean,
no, you can't.
Obviously, that can happen, but I don't think that she could carry this state. There is no inherent magic in that name. That was a one moment in time. That was the inside straight that was pulled in 2016 with all the ingredients that went into that, and we don't have to go through them, which means let's go through them. No, from James Comey, her emails, and Russia, are you listening? And
not going to Wisconsin,
Hillary not being the most electrifying candidate ever. So she was only able to get 3 million more votes than him.
Then she gets,
what a failure.
She gets the flu at the 9/11 thing. It really was.
Right.
It was like if you look back on it, it was that scene in The Simpsons where Sideshow Bob keeps stepping on the rakes. It was just bam, 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 right in the face over and over again for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
If I remember correctly, she really actually murdered him in the debates. Okay, he would have his one little moment, and he'd get the. You'd see the replay. If him walking up behind her, creeping her out.
Well,
if that's considered Trump winning a debate, okay. But he didn't. He really didn't, because he couldn't really answer a question. All his answers were this and that. And the stars lined up for that moment. And then he got beat 4 years later, and end of story. That doesn't translate to other people with that last name. I would say the chances that the Trump name will help another candidate become an elected official is about equal to the Sinatra name making his children superstars. It never happened. Okay, Nancy Sinatra had These Boots Are Made for Walking.
It was a big hit. She was fine.
And Jackson Playboy with appearance. Lee Hazelwood. Okay, and Frank Sinatra Jr. Nothing. Led Dad's band for 45 years. Okay.
Honestly, but
isn't
that the next
matter? It doesn't matter.
Isn't that the next extension of the Trump branding? Because for years and years they were just selling the name. They weren't doing shit. They would just slap the name on a hotel or a resort or a bottle of wine or a bottle of vodka or a tie. Now they just want to slap it on a candidate. I mean, they're just franchising over to politics now, right? And they're hoping.
Are you saying that a candidate in Arkansas running for Senate can officially go to court and change their last name to Trump?
You think that's not going to happen?
and run for that would never happen. No one would ever be that cynical
You better keep
that.
The gender that you were assigned at birth. But if you want to change your name to Trump, that's fine. We don't have any problem with that. It's one of those deals, right? That's what you would want to do, and it should be like the most Trump. Like it should be Trump fuckity Trump. That should be the guy's name. Trump fuckity Trump fuck Trump. Junior or something of that nature, and that's what you should call it, and that should legally be the guy's name, and it has to be printed on the ballot as that, and then eventually the people in Arkansas or Mississippi or Alabama or West Virginia or wherever Trump is, South Carolina where Trump is super popular, they can just love that guy, and that's what they're trying to do. I think that's the business plan, because it's all they got left. Now you have to decide, has the equity been wrung out of that particular name? Is it just shit right now? I mean, is it? I don't know. I wish I could say definitively yes, but I don't know.
Can I just interject one little thing? Because the length of Trump being in the public eye was so many decades that what happened in the past to set him up to be whatever it was that he became was so egregiously horrible. The business failures, the bankruptcies, the blowing the $400 million from the old man, all those things that happened 25, 30 years ago, that it came to be that he really couldn't build anything. He never built anything after, I think that building in Chicago was the last thing he built. Like that's over 20 years ago. So he never really.
If he ever was able to build anything, forget it. He's forgotten that. That was long.
Well, it's not that he forgot it. It's nobody would do business with him. Remember, the banks wouldn't talk to him. They wouldn't lend him money. He couldn't do anything. So, by the luck of the draw, he was noticed by the producer Mark Burnett, and The Apprentice happens, and the next thing you know, he's able to license his name to some buildings and some resorts and things of that sort, and try it with Trump the game, Trump wine, Trump steaks, all the things that are just they're just jokes now. As you look back, they're just all losers.
God. Absolutely.
Trump wardrobe, Trump University. Those were the result of his desperation and cultivating the name and the fame that he got from the TV show, which I guess in the last several years, he was actually getting paid big money by NBC, because I don't know whether he had a piece of the show or something, but it was a lot of money. And when they finally canceled the show and he had nothing to do, what does he do? He inflicts himself on the world as a presidential candidate, because he spent those last few years of the show also poking at Barack Obama and testing out whether America would elect a white racist piece of shit, phony billionaire fraud to be president. And of course, the answer that turned out to be yes.
It did. Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, he was right.
Right. So there's no evidence, I don't believe, that whatever he had would translate down into anybody else ever. I mean,
but this is the business plan for these guys who have no money and they need to get money. Is they're going to they will put up the Trump endorsement for your office in your state, whatever it is, up for bids. And if you've got the money,
he'll sell his endorsement.
Absolutely, 100,000% he'll do that. Highest bidder. If you want Donald Trump to come, and he's going to have a rider in his contract like all the rock stars, and I have to be supplied a private jet, and I have to be put up into this 5-star hotel. It's going to be that's the business plan, along with an over-the-top streaming service or whatever news stupidity he's got going on. I think that's the only refuge left for this asshole and this asshole family to mine out that name. Yes, in 2022. When it's time for you to run for office, and they'll test ride this, it's up for bids. If you want to be the senator from name of state, put in your bids now, and whoever wins, Donald Trump will love that other person that much more.
And he will put a date on his calendar for you in the Donald Trump Hell Freezes Over tour, his last one ever. He'll come to your town and endorse you can do the different
packages. You can do different packages. Like if you just you don't want to have him come out to a rally, you can just, for X amount of dollars, we'll have pictures of you playing golf with him. or we'll have pictures of you at that fake Oval Office at Mar-a-Lago. That's another tier. If you want the deluxe package, it's everything. You get the rally, you get the picture at Mar-a-Lago, you get the golf foursome, you get all of those things, and all of that shit's going to be put up for bid. I can't see how that doesn't happen right now. I don't see right, because they've got nothing else. They, like you said, there's no product. They put their name on so much shit. It's like, I don't know, if we relaunch this Trump steak thing, I think it could go over.
Right. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. That clearly there is no brand equity anymore in the name. It's over. It's just, it's done.
I hope to God.
Remember, at the beginning of the presidency, they had a plan to open less than luxury hotels, kind of a mid-range,
mid-tier
hotel chain across the country.
Courtyard by Marriott or something like that. Somewhere in there.
Right. Probably not that nice. Okay. Totally for middle America. And it went nowhere because, it wasn't long after Trump became the president that, his name started to become complete mud. It was getting dirty leading up to the election, but afterwards. And then you saw all the stories about some apartment buildings in Manhattan, including the one where my older brother and his wife and their son lived several years ago. It was a Trump building on the west side, and he didn't live there at this point. But those are people that voted to have the Trump name yanked off the building. They didn't want the name on the building anymore because he really had nothing to do with it. But there was a point where it was helpful in renting the apartments out, but it crossed a line many years ago, and it became obviously an albatross. Did you want to tell people that you live in the Trump building on West End Avenue in Manhattan? No, I don't want. No, fuck no. Get that thing off of there.
Right.
I mean, if it meant putting the name Hitler up there, they would have gone for Hitler. Right. We'll take Hitler over Trump, right?
Right.
Courtyard by Hitler. That would have been okay. It was all right.
the cookie you get when you get in has a little swastika on. It's a great marketing concept. I really like where you're going with this, by the way.
That's it. Yeah.
All of the shuttles are Volkswagens. I mean, I think you could really extend the branding so much. I think it would be really helpful. Speaking of Nazis, we should talk about Tucker Carlson for just a moment, because the latest on Tucker Carlson is that now, based on the Johnson & Johnson information, he has gone on his stupid ass show and said that, well, maybe the vaccines don't work and they're just not telling you this. And now that's being there. It is. There's the story for those of you who are watching.
Britt, because I love you so much, I took the bullet. And I watched about 90 seconds last night.
This is a big bullet. I'll say this is a pretty big bullet for you to take.
And I happen to have seen this particular moment where he was doing his vaccine rant. And, this really recalls the golden age of Glenn Beck on Fox, which was about, 10, 12 years ago?
That's exactly
Remember
right.
That? By the way,
the Tea Party year, 2009, 2010, that was the golden age.
And I think a couple of years he had on CNN. Remember they put him on CNN so he and his shtick back then, and it was really pernicious. It was really horrendous, but it didn't matter what the subject was. He would always take the most contrary, whacked out conspiratorial view. And after he got done with putting out the view, he would say, I'm just asking the question. Okay. And well, that covered everything. You could say anything and then say, well, I was just asking the question. Do liberals normally smear themselves with feces every night before they go to sleep? I don't know. I'm just asking the question. It didn't matter what.
That's right.
So Tucker Carlson today, in this era, has taken that to a much more pernicious and sophisticated level. And he certainly is doing it at this moment, will be current here, with the vaccine and with the problems with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that have caused, it's still 6, right? We don't have any extra
6.
And by the way, I'm pleasantly surprised that, 48 hours into this story, it's still 6. Now, what does that tell you? Because normally the evolution of a story like this is, now there's 5 more in Missouri, right? That's the way it always happens. So this really probably speaks pretty well that this is an extremely rare, less than 1 in a million occurrence of people that taken it. But that doesn't matter. We're in Tucker Carlsonville right now, right? And
That's
so
right.
he takes that and turns it into what you put up on the screen, where he's extending the doubt to, you know what? I guess the vaccines probably don't work. Maybe they don't, and they're not telling you that. They're not. Who are they? Okay, who are they? And
It's got to be
it
the
doesn't
government,
matter.
doesn't it?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they are. It's the companies. It's the FDA. It's the CD. It's every. They're not telling you that. What a broad, wonderful phrase. And we know you have to decide, who do you believe? Do you believe Tucker Carlson or the entire world of science going back thousands of years up to the year 2020, when these companies did the rigorous testing, certainly the American ones, the American vaccines that we're seeing that are going around, the Moderna, the Pfizer, and even the Johnson & Johnson, and they all did what is considered the gold standard of testing vaccines, considering that it's never been done in such a compacted short period of time. But they did the 40,000 person test, right, where they give half the people the vaccine, half the people not the vaccine, the placebo. And there were not these kinds of side effects, certainly in any of those vaccines. And I actually accept the numerical explanation here that even with 40,000 people being tested, you likely may not find the kind of side effect that you would have found if you could test 6 million people. Because like with surveys, with polling, the bigger the sample, the more accurate it is. It's why you can't take a poll of 7 people for the presidential election. You can't even do it with 100. They know that they need to get well past 1,000 usually to get to a number where you have, a 2 or 3% margin of error. And in the case of medical testing, they know that 40,000 number is pretty reliable, but it's not 100%. Nobody ever said it was 100% sure. It's never 100% sure. And the proof that it's not 100% sure is that when 6 million people get it, it looks like 6 people had a serious side effect, right? And so to turn that into what Tucker Carlson is doing, which is, and by the way, remember, that everybody at Fox has gotten the vaccine. They don't talk about it. They don't mention it. You don't see any of the video of them getting it. They are playing both ends against the middle. Their whole company apparently is protected by the vaccines, that they then go on TV and try to cast doubt. Because remember, the quicker the country gets back on its feet, the quicker everything really opens for real, not because it's forced open by asshole Republican governors mostly that risk the surge coming back. They have to be against what makes the most sense, which at this point is still, can we get more people vaccinated quickly? Isn't that really the answer? And we know that is over the next few months. So what do? What does Tucker Carlson do? He takes the contrary, opposite. I'm just asking the question. Do you think they really know that vaccines don't work and they're just lying to us? And of course, if you thought about that for a second and you realized that the number of people who have gotten coronavirus and ended up in hospitals and died right now among people who have been vaccinated is still zero. It's zero.
Yeah.
It's fucking zero. Zero. It's really terrible. He is a horrible human being, and I don't know what's going to be done about him. I don't know.
Well, in the future, we need to discuss the white replacement theory. But to your point about the folks at Fox getting vaccinated, there's a story from Yahoo News. Greg Gutfeld is sputtering. Nobody's damn business whether Fox talent gets vaccinated. So you guys quit asking that question. Well, I'm just asking the question, just like Tucker was just asking the question, right, Greg?
First of all, just because he says something doesn't mean it's true. Of course, we have the right to know if you've been vaccinated or not, because it helps us understand your motives. It helps us understand what you're talking about. And I'm not intimating that, well, if you refuse to get the vaccine, then you have more credibility when you say that the companies don't believe that it works. I'm not saying that, but it just tells us what we really, really need to know, which is in their real rational lives, they know that the science is the science and that it is real, and that Dr. Scott Atlas was full of shit in thinking that, boy, we'd be better off if we had a couple million people probably by now dead by letting the virus spread unabated with nobody attempting to mitigate it at all. Throw off your mask, blah, 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 freedom. In their real lives, they know that's bullshit.
Exactly.
But they have helped cultivate this culture of lies and denial of truth. And if Stephen Colbert's coining of the phrase truthiness isn't the word of the century, I don't know what is.
It really is.
Isn't it? Just think about it. I mean, he did that as a shtick, a bit, a joke. Was that in his second year on the Colbert Report? Truthiness.
A long time ago. Yeah, absolutely.
Truth. I believe the official definition of truthiness is something that isn't true, but I just believe it to be so. I have no basis. It's something.
It was two administrations ago. That was two whole administrations ago.
Yeah,
unbelievably.
Yeah. Right. So, Carlson he's the worst of the worst. I never thought I would say this. Ready? I never thought I'd say, gee, I wish it was the good old days on Fox when Bill O'Reilly ruled the roost at 8:00. Now, there was a guy, but just think about it. As annoying as O'Reilly was, compared to Tucker Carlson, my God, he's Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
He really is.
You make a strong point. That's a good place to leave it.
Not one I'm proud of. I'm not proud that the Papa Bear had something to go
Papa
on,
Bear.
Right? Yeah.
We'll see you back here tomorrow.